Bulls Nation, another week goes by in the NBA, and what an interesting week for the Chicago Bulls it's been. From one of the more upsetting losses in the NBA, and especially as a Chicago Bulls fans, to two massive victories. The Chicago Bulls have been through it all this week. So without further ado, let's talk about the Chicago Bulls, and let's talk about the Chicago Bulls weekly in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another episode of Chicago Bulls Weekly. As you guys know, in the weekly episode of the Chicago Bulls, we're going to look back at the games that we've had with the Chicago Bulls, and we're going to also look forward to next week for the Chicago Bulls and the games that we have to experience then. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on. We are only 5 subscribers away from 400 subscribers. That is a big benchmark for this channel, and I'd really like to get there. So if you guys, with your support, that's been very, very good so far, let's see how quickly we can get to 400. That's a big milestone, and obviously after 400 we go to the road to 500, which will be a massive milestone. Thank you guys for your support regardless, and let's get to the video today. The Chicago Bulls. We've had a very interesting week with the Chicago Bulls, if I do say so myself. The last time we discussed the Chicago Bulls weekly, we left off at the Los Angeles Clippers game. So since then, we've played 3 games, technically 2, but I wanted to make this video later so we could put the Rockets game in there. So I just felt like having 2 games just wasn't enough, in my opinion, to talk about. Plus, it was a back-to-back, and it was just easier to do it this way. The first game, we lost to the OKC Thunder 127-125 after giving away a 22-point lead to the OKC Thunder. We fell to them in overtime, which was a very, very, very poor loss. Then we picked things up against the Dallas Mavericks, Luka and Porzingis. The Bulls came in with the strong bench, came in and showed out 117-101 against the Dallas Mavericks, going 2-0 against them this season. Then we moved on to the Houston Rockets, a new-look Houston Rockets, Victor Oladipo, Christian Wood, a great 3-point scoring team, and the Bulls held them off 125-120. That game was very, very, very close despite us having a 17-point lead. Now, despite that Oklahoma City Thunder loss, I really do think this week was a very strong one for the Chicago Bulls. And it's not necessarily just because of the victories we've had. It's the response that we had to that loss. That loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder was instrumental to us. It made us really realize that this team still has a lot to learn, and it still has a lot of growing to do. And yes, the Bulls have grown tremendously. And the reaction that we got to that loss is, I believe, what a winning team should be. There are going to be teams that get blown out. There are going to be teams that concede leads. But good teams learn and know how to react to that, how to respond to that. And that is what the big part of this week is. And this is why it's a very, very positive week. The Chicago Bulls this week have won 2 games and lost 1. That was our record this week. And our overall record for the Chicago Bulls is 6-8. So this week definitely helps try to get towards that playoff position, and definitely helps trying to get above 500, which is something that I think the goal for the Bulls should definitely be. And with the next few games, there could be potentially winnable games there. We do have a lot to look forward to. There's a big sign here with the Chicago Bulls. Now, if you look at the box scores in all of these games, there are strong indications of how we won these games. And the big part of winning these games, was the bench. The bench, maybe besides the OKC Thunder game, the bench in the last 2 games of this week was absolutely tremendous and did everything in their power to extend the lead beyond what the starters were doing. Because the starters, granted, did have leads against the Dallas Mavericks, did have leads against the Houston Rockets, but when the bench came in, those leads went to 20-point leads. Those leads went to 15-point leads, and we kept on moving and processing and getting better and growing. And that is what the bench does for us. Now, could you say this is one of the best benches in the league? I've said this in the last video when we were talking about the Houston Rockets. I really do think the way that this bench is performing, we have one of the better benches in the league. I'm not sure if it's the best, and I don't think it's the right thing to say at this point in time. We have the absolute best bench in the leagues, but we definitely have one of the better ones in the league. And I think that they are carrying us to very strong victories. And hopefully we can see that continue against other teams that are short-handed. That bench comes very useful. Teams that do maybe are on the same level as us in terms of quality, maybe we can go a level above them because our bench, it would be better than theirs. That is a very, very strong part of this season. If we can able to win important games because of this bench, it's going to be massive. And we've had good games all around. Look, even the OKC Thunder game was a good game for the Bulls in the first half. There is a lot of positives to take out of that first half. Of course, that second half, you'd like to bin it, maybe learn from it, but not necessarily repeat that. But the first half of the Bulls is something that we should definitely feel proud of. Now, with that being said, let's move into the individual performance for the week. Now, of course, if you guys are new to this show, we give out 3 awards for the Chicago Bulls in every single week. We get the disappointment player of the week, or the must improve player of the week, whatever you guys like to call it. The player that must improve next week and was disappointing this week. We give the 6th man of the week award, where we look at the bench of the Chicago Bulls, which was absolutely massive this week, and determine who deserves that 6th man of the award, who was the best bench player. Then we look at the overall player of the week, and we say who deserves to be the absolute player of the week for the Chicago Bulls. Who's had the best week for us? Now, first things first, we must go into the must improve / disappointment player of the week. And I think it's fair to say that we do have to give this one to Coby White. I think this is the first time I have given it to Coby White. Coby White has insane potential, and sometimes when he's going through a whole new scheme of the point guard position, trying to learn how to get himself open as much as other team players open, I think the pressure of being a point guard in his second year when he's not naturally a point guard, there's going to be games like this where he doesn't seem to grasp that opportunity that's in front of him. The game against the Dallas Mavericks, I believe he had 0 points. And he didn't really live up to that point guard status that we all want him to live up to. Then, of course, the game against the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets game, he had 10 points, 4 assists, and he had a few turnovers as well. Another game where we need to look at and say he didn't live up to that potential that we wanted to live up to. Again, we all have high hopes for Coby White. And I really do believe he will be a fantastic player for this team. I do think that over time, he will get better at playmaking. Billy Donovan has already improved him, in my opinion, leaps and bounds than what he was last season. So it's now just a waiting game for Coby White. We're going to wait and see how he deals with the pressure of being that point guard, how he deals with having a bad run of form. And we've seen that already. After the game against the Houston Rockets, he's up taking shots in the United Center, trying to get out of that stint of bad shooting. That is a perfect mentality to have. You don't want your players to have the mentality with, I'm good, I don't need to do extra work. I want players to put all their effort into making themselves better. I want them to go into the gym and work after games. I want them to have that mentality that I can always be better than what I am. And Coby White so far has been proven he has that mentality. He wants to work hard. He's a hard work ethic player. Everybody around him says it, and he's backing it up with his practices after games. Not every player will have a good game, but it's how you respond to your bad games that makes you and defines a player. So right now, he's doing all the right things, and that makes me extremely happy. Moving on into that 6th man award, the bench for this week has been very, very, very good. The OKC Thunder game, let's forget about that. Let's bin that one. No one's getting an award for that OKC Thunder game in terms of the bench, because that was probably the weaker part of the week for us. The Dallas game and the Houston Rockets game, that bench was absolutely insane. And a lot of our bench players came back. Arcidiacono was a bench player that came back. Otto Porter came back this week. And there were a lot of areas where we've improved because of that bench. Now, in my opinion, once again, I've done this before, and it's almost like it's a repeat of history. There are 2 players, in my opinion, that deserves the absolute 6th man award. Garrett Temple and Thaddeus Young. But once again, history repeats itself because I'm giving it to Thaddeus Young. And the reason why I'm giving it to Thaddeus Young is that Garrett Temple started a game this week, and that's where his 13 points against the Houston Rockets came from. It wasn't off of the bench. So when he starts, I can't necessarily just give him the best player of the bench this week. Thaddeus Young has been consistently good for the Chicago Bulls this week, and I do think he deserves it. Obviously, Garrett Temple deserves an award of some kind, so if you want to give Garrett Temple that six-man award, I'm more than happy to allow you to have that one if you wish. Garrett Temple was tremendous this week, and he was definitely a big part of that Dallas game as to why we won that game. And maybe that is more than enough for you guys to say he should be the sixth man of the week award. But for me, it was Thaddeus Young because he consistently came off the bench and he was consistently performing. He's been a completely different player under Billy Donovan, as has most of our bench. So that goes to Billy Donovan just as much as Thaddeus Young. Any award that Thaddeus Young wins, you can technically give to Billy Donovan as well, because he's transformed this player to what he should be for the Chicago Bulls. A player that likes to cut into the paint, take those post shots, find those mismatches, and be consistent. Not always have to shoot a three. He shoots threes here and there, but his game is in the post. His game is in the paint, and that's where he thrives. And I like Billy Donovan for allowing Thaddeus Young to become that type of player. And the player of the week, there are a few contenders for player of the week. Larry Markkinen had a good week in my opinion. Someone that should definitely get some recognition. Zach LaVine had a tremendous week in my opinion. And in my opinion, it's between those two. And Wendell Carter is definitely a third shout for that as well. But I am going to give it to Zach LaVine once again. And the reason why I gave it to Zach LaVine is his adaptation towards different games is what a superstar should be, in my opinion. The OKC Thunder game, look, that is a very, very, very strong weakness to this week for him. But he did put up 30 points and he had 6 assists, but he had very, very poor turnovers. And that ended up what made them come back at the end of the day. But the game after that, did he score so much? Not really. He had 10 points against the Dallas Mavericks. But what I liked is that he found a different way to contribute. If you're not having a scoring night, you must contribute in other ways. Zach LaVine got his career high in assists for the Chicago Bulls against the Dallas Mavericks with 10 assists and a double-double. That was a big, big, big part of the game. He was contributing when he didn't necessarily need to score. And that is big. And also, he played amazing defense on Luka Doncic in the second half. And the Houston Rockets game, he had an extremely quiet 33 points, and he still found ways to bring his teammates involved, and he finally passed to the teammate of Larry Markkinen in the clutch. I think Zach LaVine has made a very, very, very big step in the right direction for us this week, and that's why he gets my Player of the Week award. So that is it for this week. Let's move on into the next week for the Chicago Bulls real quick. We do have a lot to talk about. We do have 2 games to discuss for this week, and they do have a few days to go before we can kick things off for that week. The Charlotte Hornets game, and then we got the LA Lakers in a back-to-back, another back-to-back for the Chicago Bulls. I truly feel like we've had the most back-to-backs in the NBA this season, but thankfully, we do have a few days off until that back-to-back happens. The Bulls could get some rest in, then the Bulls could go back to work and continue to grow and continue to get better. Now, this week between the Lakers and the Hornets, I want one win. It's very, very similar to the OKC Dallas week, and I did add the Rockets in there just late. But I wanted to go 1-1 that week, and we went 1-1. We went 2-1, thankfully. So between the Hornets and the Lakers, I want to go 1-1. So if we blow that Hornets game, I want to beat the Lakers. And I know that's easier said than done. We competed with the Lakers before, and I think we can do it again. But I really want to get out of this week with 1 victory. And I would love it if we could walk away with 2, because that is a strong message. If we walk out of this game with 2 wins, we have a 4-game win streak, we're flying. But I want to get out of this week with 1-1, and we will see how the Bulls continue from there. Because the week after that, I really do think there are strong games that we should be winning. But again, we wait and see. That's the week ahead of us. Let's look forward to it. Bulls Nation, I know we're all positive and happy right now, and let's keep that momentum. Let's give the support to this team against the Charlotte Hornets, and let's see what the Bulls can do. The Charlotte Hornets are going to be an exciting game. They love to run out. They love the tempo, and the Bulls play with one of the highest tempos in the NBA this season as well. So this is going to be a quick, end-to-end, fast-paced, entertaining game, and let's see if the Bulls can walk out of that game with a huge victory. victory, moving on into that back-to-back against the Lakers. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the Chicago Bulls Weekly this week, leave a like and let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts of the Chicago Bulls in that next week against the Hornets and the Lakers? And if you are still new to this channel and you're up to this point in the video, you're clearly someone that must have enjoyed this video or just wants to watch until the end. Please leave a subscribe as well, and let's see how quickly we could get to 400. Have a wonderful day. The next Chicago Bulls video I have in mind is either one of the two. Why are the Chicago Bulls so exciting to watch? And how happy I am with Patrick Williams. Those are the videos to look forward to with the Chicago Bulls. And I will see you guys in another Chicago Bulls video. Take care and peace.